Chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Wyoming, Ms. Hageman, for 5 minutes.
I got a death threat after the last weaponization here.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from Wyoming.
I want to thank you, Mr. Sauer, Ms. Morris, and Mr. Kennedy, for your courage, for your willingness to be the tip of the spear to protect all of our First Amendment rights. Mr. Sauer, I don't know if you watched the testimony from Christopher Wray last week, but he testified and admitted that the FBI was continuing to meet regularly with social media companies up until the very moment that the injunction was issued by the district court judge. What that tells me is they're not stopping. They're going to continue to try to further the censorship industrial complex as long as they can, and will continue to attempt to violate our First Amendment rights. We all must be vigilant. Ms. Morris, I want to focus on you today. I don't think that we've talked enough about the freedom of the press, but it's also included in the First Amendment and is as important as any other First Amendment right that we have. I want to thank you for your testimony today, and we all know that the First Amendment is a core fundamental right. Within its protection of the protection of the free press against infringement by the government. Free press has been an institution in this nation which dates back to even before America existed. Americans have always relied on the media to remain informed about the workings of their government and events in the world. This is why the press is often referred to as the fourth branch, using the rights secured by the Constitution as a fourth check on the three branches of government. Ms. Morris, before a majority presidential election, you were prepared to release a factual report about one of the candidates. One would think that the information in your report would be of interest to the American people to understand the integrity of the candidates who are asking for their support and their trust. The facts have been laid out by you and this committee of how the FBI worked with social media to alter their perception of what your story was and to change their policies to censor it. Ms. Morris, your story was obviously groundbreaking news. And as we have learned and uncovered additional information over the intervening 2 years, I can say with confidence that what has been going on with the Biden family is absolutely horrific and undermines the very foundation of our country and the integrity of the people in the highest elected and appointed offices in this country. But it's now, we know that you were correct in what you were going to be reporting. Has there been any estimates, or do you have any general idea of how many people were denied access to your story because of the government censorship?
So there are polls about that. The MRC, Media Research Center, did a poll about, it said 45% of Biden voters were not aware of the story. But I think it also is an impossible question to answer, because the thing about the censorship was not only that it was, deleted or whatever from Twitter, but also it casted an aspersion on the reporting, on me, that was literally made up. It was made up. And there's a subset of this country where, despite the New York Times, the Washington Post, literally fill in the blank, liberal news legacy outlet that they all trust, they just reflexively think laptop from hell, fake, Russia, whatever. And so the effect of that can't be measured, because these people who are spies, who the country looks at as the ultimate authority of truth, came out and said that this was, there was something wrong with it, so you can't measure the impact of that.
And so going back to the legacy media, the Oversight Committee had a very explosive hearing yesterday with whistleblowers from the IRS. Some of our legacy media outlets did not cover the hearing, but they did talk about Taco Tuesday, and they talked about other things that seemed to be of great interest to them, but not the fact that we are uncovering an enormous amount of corruption at the very highest levels in our government. While you didn't know about the FBI's efforts at the time, I would assume that between the Twitter files and what we've uncovered in the Missouri versus Biden case, you now know the role that the FBI played in censoring your work. Do you think the FBI tried to ensure that the American people didn't hear the story in order to change the outcome of the election in 2020?
I don't know how to answer that question, because I'm not in their head. I don't know you know, the reason why. I don't have a head count of how many Biden voters work at the FBI. I can't assign a motive to them. I can just tell you what happened and what we've learned in the 2 years since this like blatant, in-your-face censorship event.
But we do know that the American public were not told the truth about the Hunter Biden laptop and Joe Biden's involvement with his dealings, foreign dealings.
Well, that's it, and that's what pertains to my work and my experience.
Thank you.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from